Hello, I'm Philip Stoten. I'm here at Productronica 2019 and I'm joined by Michael Ford and Jason Spera from Aegis. Welcome guys, thanks for joining me. What I wanted to do really is kind of treat you guys as experts, as people that have been at this Productronica, seen what's going on. We talked a little bit about the specifics of what you've enjoyed about the show, but really some of the major trends we're seeing. And one of the things that I've sensed and heard from people I've spoken to is that they really feel we're at a tipping point with this whole Industry 4.0 thing, and we're making some progress in that whole digital transformation. What are you seeing there, and is it a feeling you're getting not just from people you're speaking to on your booth, but as you walk around or as you attend committee meetings?
Well, one, I agree. I think there is a change you can feel and when you're talking with customers, because there's been a transition now where for the last several years there was, I think, a bit of a misunderstanding that data acquisition and IoT was Industry 4.0. Now that was an enabling issue, technology we needed to resolve, and now we can get the value add, and that's where we are right now. So people are no longer necessarily talking about connectivity because that's somewhat resolved now through things like CFX, and now we're talking about what are we going to do with that data, how will we leverage it, and that's actually a much more exciting subject.
Yeah, it is really exciting. And Michael, you've worked really hard you've both worked really hard in the whole CFX adoption thing, but it's nice to be able to move past that and start to look at the layers that we can build on top of those foundations.
Yeah, people are beginning to go back in time a little bit because, since the dawn of manufacturing, we've had various uses of information, whether that's been gained through manual insight, experience. For example, the areas of quality control. How do you control the quality on a production line? There is a mix of data gathering, reporting, analytics, and also actions that are taken to prevent people from doing mistakes. Now, we see that in one total digital domain. And so rather than people thinking, okay, we need a kind of a series of point solutions here and a very fragmented kind of operation, now they can see that this whole thing can be joined together. And that's one of the things we specialize in. But whether it's, lean materials, linking machines with the warehouse and the supply chain, even just dashboards that, obviously we want to see what's happening in production now, but now we can trust the data to understand where is my capacity opportunity. So a new customer comes along to a manufacturing site, like an EMS, says, look, I need to increase the products that you build. Can you do that? Can you deliver by next Friday? And you can immediately go to the digital domain and get those answers. So in a sense, there's nothing new in the way that we're using the data. What's new is that we have data to use, which brings augmentation to that previous process, which was the human mind and the limited scope of opportunity that they would see in terms of information.
Yeah, and that was limited to things like tribal knowledge and people with vast amounts of experience, which sometimes meant you got a really good product out of the day shift and a not so good product out of the night shift. And it's great to move beyond that and have that consistent digital thread. Jason, what I'm curious about is when you started the connectivity journey, and as you say, some people saw the journey as the destination, and it merely was a step on the journey. Does it look different to the outcome you expected when you started that process? Did you think, okay, we'll get here and this will happen, and now you've got here? Is it different?
I think the time frame it took to get here was a bit different than I would have liked or anyone would have liked. But we're here, so now it's in the satisfying phase, so we can forget about all that. And it turned out, I think, with the demonstration lines we've seen at two shows now, multiple shows, where it's working so well and sending the data into the cloud, it is actually, it's pretty amazing. Someone was saying at our booth the other day, he said, just 4 years ago, if you said there would be all these disparate vendors loading their machines into a line at Productronica and then just data going up into the cloud and everything going through dashboards, you would have said, oh, that's probably a bit down the road. Yeah. So it really wasn't that long. So it's very satisfying to see it happening.
Yeah. And in terms of Productronicas, it's not been that long, and it's actually quite a nice way to count it, isn't it? We talk about the digital disruption that this whole process causes to our customers, to the EMS guys. What has it done to Aegis? What has it changed in your business? Has it changed your mindset? Has it changed the way you have to develop your technology roadmap and how your team has to operate?
Well, it does because, well, we sort of talked about it a bit, and Michael touched on it, that we believe and have for forever, basically, that anybody can put an army of software developers together and build a custom solution or buy 15 subsystems to solve these holistic digital problems. But we believe that the customers now want a platform solution. So there is a lot of, that's a form of disruption, is the IT departments are now tired of maintaining, there's one customer that said that in a single factory they had literally audited 300 plus subsystems, software subsystems. And I actually asked for clarification. I said, is that a real number or is that hyperbole? And they said, no, it actually was the result of an audit. And their desire was to go platform. So for them, that was disruptive, less maintenance and so forth. And then, of course, there's the leveraging of the data, which we do as well. Now, everybody wants their quality system, their incoming inspection, adaptive planning, material control, all in one platform, or as much as they can do in that one platform.
Yeah. Somebody made a really good point to me, and you talk about that, the time it's taken and what's going on. Someone made it was actually a German consultant, was saying that actually within the industry it sometimes feels like we're going quite slow, but it's like watching your kids grow up. You don't notice because they grow every day. If you left the industry and came back 2 years later, big changes. There's been some really big changes that make things exciting. Michael, when you look at going forward from here, now you're past that, what are you excited about building in terms of layers on top? Is it the augmented reality? Is it the human-machine interface? What really gets your mind ticking?
Yeah, it is that people are now taking the connectivity of machines as a given. And it's not, the connectivity was never actually that important. The important thing was understanding the information that you get from them, how you build that context in an IoT-driven MES platform. That gives you the view and control of the factory. And then people have realized, well, actually the whole factory isn't an SMT line or even just all the automated processes. It's actually all the people who actually have jobs to do to complete their assignments before and after these lines and robots. So what's been really interesting is to see the ability of a simple technology that we're using for augmented reality. This is not the big HoloLens type glasses that you put on and then 20 minutes later you're sick. This is like the heads-up display in a car. The real simple, proven technology. It goes right there, it gives you the work instructions, and that enables people to now be the flexible part of the factory that they once used to be before we had to specialize them into specific tasks. So now you go into a factory and you see a load of unhappy operators normally doing nothing because everything's on changeover. Some are asleep on the line, and then from time to time they'll get up and do something and then they go back to sleep again. Now the experience is completely different. Creative, interesting work which is assigned directly in the glasses. They can be doing many jobs in the same hour. It set people free. But the important thing about that is that people now feel secure in their role in the factory in the future. And that has relieved a huge amount of pressure. So I think this year is a year of relief. We've had a strong relief from now we're not arguing about standards anymore. Connected Factory Exchange is doing it all for free. And we're able now to see the way forward to create the value that people need, addressing the core principles of manufacturing using technology that we have today.
Yeah, it's interesting. Another German consultant, a different guy, we were talking about the future and what all of this digital enablement offers. He used the word gamification, the gamification of manufacturing. I don't know whether that's viable. What do you think?
Well, I think it's happening. The glass, consoles all over the AR lenses, it is a bit like gamification. And one thing AR brings is there is an issue with, operator turnover, labor turnover, training. High mix environments, they're essentially having to learn how to build something new, possibly every 15 units or something. And AR does help with that because, as Michael indicated, they're interfaced with it in a very easy way. And then just knowing, this is precisely what I have to do next. I don't really have to use a user environment. I can speak to it, and it's telling me what to do, visually. So it does gamify it in a way.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect fit for you guys, and I've always seen that because one of your key benefits early on was taking taking paper and replacing it by visual instructions that could be updated on the fly, that were always consistent. You knew everybody was working with the same system. It seems a natural next phase to do that. So that's really interesting. One of the things I'm always interested when I talk to you, Jason, is what you're seeing in other industries, because you're not just the MES provider for electronic manufacturing, you're doing it elsewhere. What are those other industries demanding, and what does that help you bring to this industry?
Well, it is actually very interesting to see these other market verticals, and frankly, a lot of them do at some point, they have an electronics assembly involved, but then they're going all the way up to a vehicle or an aircraft or something. And in some ways, it's simpler than what electronics deals with, but in other ways, it's more difficult. Like, for example, you introduce new challenges like the manufacturing repair and overhaul. You have a unit come in, and you have to you don't even know what the configuration of this device is that came in, and the customer wants it to go from a legacy Rev A to a D, and you have to tear it down, determine its configuration, and then build it back up into something else. It's pretty much a nightmare scenario for an MES system, but we had to evolve our solution to be able to handle that. Another one is configure to order. We're dealing with some companies that build in one line 400 different very high-end devices a day that are literally completely 100% customized. So imagine managing that. So it's those types of challenges where in discrete they are doing single piece flow in a lot of cases, things that haven't really gotten too much into electronics as yet.
Yeah. And last question I want to ask you both is really about, if you put yourself in the position of a Productronica visitor, you walk the floors, you look at stuff that maybe isn't software. I know hard to imagine you guys not just looking at software the whole time, but maybe just consider that. What have you seen that's kind of got your attention that you've thought, that's interesting, that's gonna change the market? I'm gonna put the pressure on Michael and let him go first with that.
The machines themselves, I mean, you said it earlier, it's like watching a kid growing up. You see incremental versions of machines, they're slightly faster, slightly better, more capable. Is that interesting? Probably not. When you look at the approach that machine vendors are taking now, and I've had the opportunity through the CFX committee to work with literally hundreds of these machine vendors, the kind of values that they are creating from data now. I mean, it's been the one thing that's been so difficult to get people to understand is how they are going to use that, how their software works within their machines. They're talking about edge processing so that they take care of billions of calculations with huge amounts of data inside the machine, and then have the ability to communicate out the key principles of that through CFX, ready for other machines in the line to learn. They're understanding for the first time ever that there is this kind of hierarchy, and they're understanding the value of the components in that hierarchy. We are a key component in that hierarchy, bringing that contextual layer of information. For the first time, I see the vast majority of machine vendors now either knowing this or really wanting to get involved and know it. And so that's the kind of big change that we're seeing this year. That openness and willingness and really almost wanting to get it done right now, because they see that demand from the customer.
Get it done right now, but get it done right. And for me, the important thing is, if you're an inspection company, really focus on that deep domain knowledge, create great images, create great data, because that data is the currency that you guys can take and create magic beyond that. That's really important. What have you seen, Jason?
Well, I'm really glad Michael didn't say what I was going to say, because that would have been awkward. I actually was just talking to our CTO as I was walking to the stand here, and we were noting, and it is hardware, there seems to be an explosion of AGVs and platform robots moving trolleys around, going along lines and manipulating feeders. I think in the last Productronica, the AGV was something that was in the corner, and it was just amusing everybody, but no one was really using it. It's all over the show now. But I think it's more importantly, what does that say? It says that we've reached such a level of evolution on the lines and with the things we already have had, that now automation is moving out of the robot, the assembly value add line, and going into things like logistics and materials handling, but bringing robotic automation to that. And that does actually intersect with software. We have integrations with AGVs and so forth. So it's interesting how good electronics assembly is getting, that now that's what we have to do.
Yeah, And if all that automation's there, that gives you more opportunity to control it. Have you guys seen the new Fuji system, the new generation? Yeah, it's very interesting. I think they're talking 000, they call it. So 0 defects, 0 downtime, 0 operators.
And 0 illumination. It really is leading to that
lights out
factory.
lights out factory. So fascinating. Guys, we could talk all day, but we probably should not. You've probably got other things to do. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.